Steve Wozniak, welcome to TechCrunch TV.
Delightful to be here instead of on the other end of the camera and reading.
Steve, we're in Brussels at TEDx. You keynoted, you were the first speaker at the event. I got a sense from your speech that you'd fallen out of love with technology. Is that fair?
I'm not falling out of. I love technology. It is my life. New devices, how they hook together, how they play together. I am a gadgeteer. However, where the relationship between technology and humans, who controls life, who controls us, that large companies that are in powerful positions of control, I don't like that. I'm also very afraid that we don't know it. We've given up so much of our life to technology, and not only that, it's like the stories you've read recently about people losing stuff on the cloud and they didn't wind up having any rights to owning it or anything like that. I've had some of those disasters in my own life. I think a lot of other people are going to follow on in the upcoming years, the ones that don't jump into the newest things the quickest or put a whole ton of their valuables in the cloud. But I'm worried that we've signed away everything and we don't own it. It's like I used to love to have things in my hand and say these are mine, and now it's almost like everything, even hardware from Apple, is a subscription because it isn't, in a couple of years it isn't kind of going to work with the newest stuff.
If you were starting all over again, Steve, you invented the personal computer. Is there one thing you would do differently?
I always say no. I've got a head that doesn't want to look back and ever say, oh my gosh, I have regrets. Where my head was at the time was so astute and so good at making the right decisions with the input that I had, with the knowledge and the data and my choices that I made. Every one of them, I look back and I know my reasons for doing it were good and right, even if they weren't what other people would have thought was the right way.
Steve, do you think that Microsoft now is more innovative than Apple?
I've seen more of the type of innovation where you see something, whoa, they really changed things drastically. Whoa, they aren't even going in the same direction as everyone else, meaning the iPhone and the Android operating systems. And a couple days ago, I read an article where Microsoft has a machine. You'll speak into it in English, and it'll come out in Mandarin. And well, if they're making strides in this valuable, voice recognition area, I fear that Microsoft might have been sitting in their labs trying to innovate with a formula. How do we come up with new ideas? Let's not keep doing the same things as before, just the newer versions of them. They might have been doing that for 3 years while Apple was just used to cranking out the newest iPhone and falling a little behind, and that worries me greatly.
Why does it worry you? I mean,
it worries me because I love Apple, so much. It worries me if Apple were to lose ground because they were just sort of making the same things they know how to make. Apple had some bad times at one point in history, and during that point in history, when I look back, we were cranking out the Macintoshes to people that would buy Macintoshes every month, every 6 months, every year. There were, certain schools would buy certain models, and we were improving them. Improving is not stark Apple-style innovation. It's not like you're creating something astounding that you're just gasping, because it's so unexpected. Until Steve Jobs came back, that's what we were doing. We just sort of had a formula for making money, and we kept running it and making the same machines. I would hate that Apple didn't get the recognition as being the innovator when the innovation turns to technology. Right now, I would say that you and I and the listeners here are mostly computer geeks and really into it. We're studying it and paying a lot of attention to it. But 90% of the people in the world aren't. And something like an iPad is more right for them. Take care of, it's easy, it's safe, you aren't going to be left behind, you don't have to worry about knowing too much in the world. So that easy world does belong to a lot of people where they don't have a lot of change and innovation. But I myself, I really like to see new things that I can talk about and show off. What I do now, though, is I just buy all the different products from the different companies so I can get multiple platforms and have fun. I force myself to use the multiple platforms, though, so I don't just look at it and say, oh, this is not familiar to me, it's awful, it's harder to use. No, I use them religiously, and so I can know how to talk to people that use those platforms, and I know not to tell them you can't do such and such unless you have an iPhone, because very often they can.
Final question, Steve, I know you're going to go and have your lunch. There's been a great deal of debate in the tech press, as I'm sure you know, over the last 2 or 3 weeks about all the personnel changes at Apple. One guy argued that in the Steve Jobs era, a guy like Scott Forstall, who was clearly hard to work with but also brilliantly innovative, would never have been forced out. Do you worry about these latest round of changes in terms of making sure that really innovative individuals can remain at Apple?
Yes, I didn't know the people close hand personally. I know them secondhand through people who have worked with them. And I've had a tiny bit of interaction, say, with maybe Tim Cook, but not enough to really comment on, do I feel, I don't even know the real reasons. Why is Scott Forstall out? There might have been some things he was expected to get done that he didn't get done that none of us know about. It's a big mystery. It may not just be his personality was overdriving it. It may just not be that the Maps app wasn't up to what Apple expected it to be. So Scott Forstall might be a person that I totally admire for being responsible for the greatness I feel in the products, or he might be somebody I disadmire either for that or for his personality being very rough and driving and not friendly, and the way Steve Jobs was. It's kind of like, I don't believe Steve had to be as much of a real rugged pastor and put people down and make them feel demeaned. I don't think that was necessary for Apple to have the great products and the great world that it has to this day. So, I don't know. I hope Apple is on a trend towards being a lot more charitable, open, and really getting good ideas, but not so much by you have to force good ideas out of the teams that are developing them.
Well, Steve Wozniak, if there's one guy who proves that you can be a good guy and successful, it's you. You can go off to your lunch now. Thanks so much for appearing on TechCrunch TV.
Okay, let's have more. Nice meeting you.